Hello everybody and welcome to episode 52 of Competitive Magic with the Karnies. I'm your host from Italy, Andrea Mengucci, and joining me as always we have Javier Dominguez from Spain.
Hello everyone.
And in 8th place, and Anthony Lee from Australia.
Hola.
Yeah, we had this joke that Javier cannot stop saying from Australia after saying Anthony Lee, and it all is because of this intro. Can you confirm that, Javier?
Yeah, it's definitely
your fault.
something I can confirm. Yeah, it's very useful though. Now I remember every time that Anthony is from Australia, not from Austria. So, you know.
An easy mistake to make.
Good for something.
Sometimes I get confused.
Yeah. Alright guys, how did it go? How did you do this weekend? Did you have some post-Worlds vacation or
Vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually took a small break of Magic, but I decided to go back to Magic Online this weekend. I did play some challenges. I played 2 challenges on Saturday and 1 on Sunday. I'm playing Eternal because of the Eternal weekend. I'm going there, so I was playing some Vintage and some Legacy. And I went 3-4 in every single tournament I played in, which is not a lot, but I had some fun, played some games, didn't play very well, and I guess I have to slowly start training back, to be good at this format, because I obviously have not played in a lot of times.
According to MTGO, though, you cashed at 32nd place with your 3-4 record. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. That was not a very good deck and not a very good result, but I got my entry back. So yeah, cashing is good always. I was like, oh, it popped the message. I was like, oh, okay, that's nice.
Wow. So the lesson learned is that you should never drop your challenges, because even Javier can't, get an entry feedback at 3-4.
I mean, if you play for fun, might as well just keep playing, right? Like, I was, sometimes I drop challenges very fast or whatever, but if I'm playing, just for fun to try the decks and see the format, when I'm going to drop to play a league, may as well just play the challenges.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, if I wouldn't play out just to maybe win my entry fee, but if you want to play, then play, and if you don't want to play, don't play. Like, I just don't think an entry fee can be worth enough that you should battle it out if you don't want to. Like, don't feel obliged to play because you might get back whatever.
Absolutely, but if you want to play them, it's fine.
If you want to play, it's good. But I just think the entry fee should not be a part of that calculation.
Mango is finding last week top 8 with Platinum Angel on the sideboard. I did win a game with Platinum Angel though. I was also gaming against Dredge. And my opponent had a bunch of creatures, so no other card will have won the game, and I just spam off of Leeds blind into the Platinum Angel, where I had 5 creatures, and I hit this one and it survived.
Plenty of vintage action and legacy for the tournament weekend in Prague in November. I'm most excited for that one. What about you, Anthony? Did you play some the 15th of November that weekend?
Okay, so you got a little time. That's cool. I had an amazing experience at a modern RCQ actually, because there was a modern RCQ on. It was quite well attended actually, surprisingly so. So I went there, and then I brought my Tron deck, and I was like, maybe I'll play some mod, but then I decided, actually, I don't want to do that. It doesn't seem very fun, and then I didn't do it. And the first match I just watched them go, the classic evoke grief and not dead after all, and I'm like, I'm so smart not entering this event. I am so smart. So that was my modern RCQ experience, and I felt like a real winner. How about you?
That's so Anthony. Yeah.
No, I had a great experience instead.
Bam!
I saw plenty.
The mango.
I saw plenty of people evoking grief, but they all lost because out of the 6 people playing Scam and the 30 people RCQ, only one made top 8.
Whoa,
so
what?
I was happy to see that. I played my Tron deck. Thankfully, I didn't see any Scam opponent. I skillfully dodged them all.
Did you see any Rakdos?
And I managed to. Yeah, exactly. And I managed to win the whole thing.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, Javier, Pivo was with me at the RCQ, and he shopped one Karn Liberated, and he got it in Spanish.
Nice. Karn
Libertadora. Liberado, sorry.
That's such a brutal RCQ. Did anyone get paired to both of you? That's what I want to know. Can you imagine? who's playing RCQ, you get paired to both Andrea Mengucci and Marco Del Pivo.
Maybe. Yeah. Pivo unfortunately finished ninth with Scam, and I won the whole thing. I didn't drop a single game. Tron was amazing. Yeah, nothing much to say. I mean, the list is the one that you guys played at the PT,
It's a great deck.
which feels incredible. I can only imagine what it feels like to play this deck at the PT when people just, I don't know, I guess didn't really know what was going on, and the Urza Saga thing was very new, and that card was just insane to me. Just like I played against, again, like my opponents weren't the fastest, and the Saga all the time just gave me this two construct and the map to get me the Boseiju for the Lille binding and whatnot. It was always like that, and it just felt like very, very good. And of course, like I played against a 4-color Omnath who played 2 Obsidian Charm all back to back on turn 3 and 4, and I was able, thanks to again, Urza Saga later to kind of like end this member on the Charm mod to get Thrawn again while pressuring the Planeswalkers and such with the construct, because post Cyber they side out some removal spell. So yeah, I really love the deck. It's super well built, and I'm probably just not gonna change a card. I already did change a card though, which is the Cyber Boseiju that I always sideboard in against all the Leyline Binding decks, and it just always happened that I Leyline Binding that I Boseiju the Leyline Binding and get back the Karn Great Creator, so I can minus and get something back and cast it immediately. And I don't know, I feel like the Boseiju is great.
Well, this deck is
But
certainly, I agree. The deck is good.
Yeah, with
There's
no
also,
resistance.
I'm also gonna put an article next week on Haruya, so check it out next week because it's gonna be up somewhat soon on this deck.
Just to be perfectly clear, the article is about this Tron deck. Just because you didn't actually say that, but
Well, I meant this Tron deck. Yeah,
yes.
I'm gonna write about the deck, but yeah, I mean, I'm glad Mengu won the tournament. It's also very rare. I mean, I don't remember like ever winning a tournament without dropping a game.
Oh, I thought you were being way more. I thought you were saying it was very rare for Mengu to win a tournament. I'm like, oh, chill.
playing RCQ.
He
Bro,
literally
tranquilo.
topped a tournament
Yeah.
of like 2,000 people 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks
Also,
ago. He wins a lot. No,
you-
that's not what I meant.
You,
Yeah. I was like, what are you
I'm-
saying,
I'm-
man? Calm.
I'm curious, and Javier, if you feel the same, but have you ever played a PPTQ, like a qualifier for the qualifier? Because since they added it in 2014, I've never played one. This is the first time ever that I'm not qualified for the qualifier to the PP,
I have
basically, ever
played.
since.
So now you can play them, right? Even if you qualified. So
Yes.
I actually played one like half a year ago because I
Okay.
had to drive people to a tournament. At some point, I was there
Mhm.
like, I'm gonna drive them, so might as well just
Okay.
play it. And I went like 1-2. And I did play PPTQs actually. I feel like back in the day. I think like I played some. I
Yeah.
had to play
You,
some, but not too many.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess you weren't.
I think it would have been a very short period of
was it?
time that there was
Yeah.
an overlap. But
I think
yeah,
it was
there
a very
was an
short,
overlap.
like when they before I just got gold or something like this. I think
I
it was
think
like
silver also qualified for the PTQ for the regional silver.
yeah, I don't remember. I
I
remember.
believe so.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I have not played PPTQs until now. Like
Yeah.
maybe I'm not.
But,
totally
The last time
sure.
you played a PPTQ
But
would have been like
honestly-
maybe just after you joined Mint Card. I think that's how long ago. That's the
Mm,
time
yeah.
that was the overlap because you weren't platinum and you weren't.
No, I
Yeah,
actually
and
think
PPTQs existed.
before joining Mintcar, I actually don't play PPTQs. No, because I remember going to them in Valencia, or whatever, and not playing them. So
Yeah, I think you
I think I
did
have not
well
played.
in the. I think you did well in PT Portland, which was 2014. That might have given you enough points to get silver that season. But yeah,
yeah.
cool.
I got
So
some-
yeah. And anyway, it was just a first for me. Also, this store that I went to got the thing to organize the RCQ, which are not free, like the PPTQ were in the past. So I'm happy to be there, and I will go again. I'm pretty sure I will go to the next one too.
Was it far
just
from you,
to-
Mengu? Was it far, like driving?
It was 1 hour drive,
hour?
but yeah,
Oh.
1 hour. Yeah.
It's fine, right?
Oh,
Is
well,
it
I
like
mean,
1 hour so little or 1 hour so much? Cannot tell.
so much
Hold
to
on one
me,
second.
but I guess you know, we have very different circumstances. I was like, oh my god, an hour.
So yeah, now I will keep on testing Tron because actually both me and Pivo will go to the LMS in Sofia. That's the decently sized big event that happens in Europe every once in a while. And for now, I would be playing Tron again. But I see that everyone now is playing so many Obsidian Charmo that Nassif has 4 Obsidian Charmo in his Omnat deck. People told me that he just today he played a league with Tron. He went 1-3 against the 4 Rhinos deck. Uhol played Infinite Obsidian Charm, so I would say that people are much more prepared to Tron than they were few weeks ago.
Well, I mean,
One
it
question
just
though. One
cycles.
question. Yeah, is the tournament Sofia open deck list or closed deck list?
It isn't. It is not.
It is
It is
closed
not
deck
what?
list.
So yeah, it's not open deck list, so it's fine. I mean, it is what it is.
No, I'm just
No, but
asking.
that's a
Like,
big
I
deal.
think, I think, yeah, I think for decks like Tron, it's actually somewhat important, and especially if they know you're playing Tron and you don't know when they're playing, it's actually it can be a tiebreak. I think for a decision like this, where I mean, if you're playing a
Yeah.
scam and they know you're playing a scam, it doesn't matter as much, right?
I mean, I would say that I'm kind of used to this, like especially playing a lot of local event.
No, I know,
But
I
like, it's a
know, no,
very big
Them
I know.
knowing
difference in
what
these
you
events. Like, and obviously the stakes are a little higher if you're traveling for the event. So, um, I think I don't know how much open deck list like affects deck choice in general, but specifically in modern, I think it's kind of important. So, and for you especially because it's asymmetrical, because your opponents are much more likely to know what you're playing than the reverse, and obviously you're fine with that disadvantage, because it comes from a good thing ultimately, but you should choose your decks a little, with that in mind. I think. I think that's what Javier's suggesting as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, obviously, if it's tight, like if it's a tight situation where you don't know what to play, I think it's good to play the one that's more like robust against information, being known for the opponent. But that's me.
Yeah, no, I'm sure, but honestly, just the feeling I had last weekend playing Tron, it was just it felt so good,
But
honestly.
you didn't
Like
lose
the
a
deck
game,
just
like a
yeah,
game,
I mean,
whole tournament, of
yeah,
we do
like
notice
course.
this a lot, right? Like people will like win a tournament and then they'll say, "I won the tournament and deck felt great." By the way, I really hate how people just say deck and not the deck, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway,
Why?
but
Why is
what's
that?
that?
Why?
what?
Why is that?
What's that? Sorry,
I don't know. It's
what
just
did you
weird
say?
when people just say deck felt great, like instead of the deck felt great. Like, why do we cut that word? I don't really.
What's the difference?
Uh, anyway, um, so
I
like,
don't know.
but like, of course, like, of course, the deck will feel great. Like, you just won like a million matches in a row. Like, you know,
So I won the 3 die roll in the Swiss, then I won 2-0 every match, and then in the top 8 I was second seed, so I was on the play every time.
yeah, like stuff
So
like
I
that
was
will
only on the
really,
play.
yeah,
Yeah, I know. I know, I know,
get it.
I know, I know. But also to be honest, I still haven't lost a match with this deck. Like I played it in 3 leagues of Magic Online, and I played it at the tournament, and in testing against people on Scam, it didn't feel that bad. Like obviously I lost some matches against him in testing, but I just haven't. I've really lost very little. I've never played against Burn or Amulet Titan, which are the bad matchup for the deck. There were 2 in the top 8. Thankfully, I dodged them, the Burn and Amulet. So, but yeah,
Imagine dodging
overall,
Amulet in the top 8, Javier.
Imagine. Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, it's gonna take a lot of luck, I think, for us to play a deck this good in a PT. Like,
Yeah,
it's gonna, yeah, like a lot of luck and work and luck. I think both. I think work is not
and
gonna,
yeah,
make
it's
a
pretty
deck this
hard to
good.
hit
also
again. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I
lightning in a
wanted
bottle, they
I
say.
wanted to mention that with my store credit prize, I bought a bunch of cards, and
Look
most
at
of them are
these.
for the Golgari deck in Standard
Oh, that deck's
that you
alright.
guys played. Yeah,
The
so when the
cottage.
Look,
standards,
even these cards are even
yeah, when this
mismatching. I'm so pleased. You're buying standard cards and they don't match. It's so good. Like,
It's
this is
very
nice.
Antonio also, yes.
This
The
is
tortoise.
nice. Yeah, the tortoise.
yeah.
And like all
Tuga.
these
Also,
questing druids.
I guess I should mention that I also went undefeated the day before in a different store. They had a team event. I played Modern Legacy. I played my trusty blue black scam that I've been playing since this summer, changing like 2 cards. and yeah,
I want to
once
question
again,
you,
deck felt
Mango.
great.
How good is this
Sorry,
deck
the
other
deck.
than great? Like how good is this deck? Is this like best deck I should play it because I'm gonna play it somewhat well, or should I just oh this is like just my backup deck? What do you think? I'm asking for me, but also from people that might be listening or whatever.
So I think that this deck is better than the various Delver deck, the Grixis shell that has been played um, ever since Orcish Bowmaster is around. I believe that just being two colors and going Island Swamp is great. Like for example, I beat the same Grixis Delver player in Swiss and in top eight and top four, I guess. And because I went like fetch land island, cycle troll end of turn, get swamp, and then I went like wasteland, and I played a swamp, and I played magic, and then a wasteland again, and then he was always like low on lands, and he couldn't deploy Murktide around days, whereas I did, with like playing Underground Sea, top two, Murktide, and I had that swamp untapped, and that happened again later with, I believe, like Brazen Borer, similar spot. So I think there's a lot of small things that will make you be better on two colors. And then, of course, like last challenge, you managed to cash with a much different deck, the four color Omnath Yorion, not Omnath, sorry, Ring Omnath, and that's supposed to prey on this deck. Like, have you played the matchup? Like, have you played against this deck?
Yeah, I beat three of these.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. As I wrote in one of my articles, recently for China Fireball, there's kind of like this round meta game going on in Legacy, which is you have this deck that loses to the various Uro piles, and those Uro piles lose to something else. Like for example, what were your losses to? Like
Everything
initiative,
else,
combo
like I
decks.
just lost to a bunch of different decks, like initiative, combo, eight
Yeah,
cast, painter. Like I just
and
everyone was
those
beating me. Yeah.
and those decks lose to these decks. So you have like this triangle basically going on in Legacy, and you just choose where to be on this triangle. I feel like the metagame is, I don't know, it's not solved at all, very healthy,
Well,
and
but okay,
you
I
but
mean,
just
out of
don't
that
asking
choose
the
triangle.
where.
question. Yeah, like okay, this is a triangle. This is often the case. Like this is not new. This triangle also happened with Blue Delver. Like they were still losing to the piles, and piles were still losing to combo. The thing is, on this triangle, which one do you think is like is this point actually strong enough? Like is the advantage you
So,
get against the
so,
rogue decks good enough, or just like should I play this deck? Is this strong
so I
enough to
think
play?
that with Blue Red Delver, you had Iteration, Mystic Sanctuary, and you weren't even losing that much
Yeah,
to
that's
the
true.
piles.
Yeah.
Whereas now you have Sauron's Ransom. Like, it's not even close. Like it's much worse than Expressive Iteration. Is what I'm saying. And you just don't grind those decks. You just, I don't know how can you beat them. I guess you gotta get lucky with the grief and just grief reanimate, and they don't draw a removal spell. But it's just bad matchup. So yeah, I mean, you have to hope. I don't know. Like I feel like I played this deck because I know this deck the best, and yeah, just gotta get
I
lucky with
don't
the
know
pairings.
is a answer that I accept gladly.
Yeah, yeah,
To a
we're
Yeah.
question.
comfort gamers
Like
here.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know is a fine answer. Like if you ask a question,
I
you say I don't
think
Good
know, it's
answer.
good. So yeah, it's a good answer
I
actually.
think that I think that it's likely that you play a whatever it is, like a 9 round tournament, and you play against zero for color Uro decks, and you're just very happy to play this deck. Whereas if you play Uro, every time you sit down and your opponent doesn't have Underground Sea, you're like, it's just it's
Yeah,
gonna
out of
be
the
it's
triangle
it's
you
a
guys
it's
mentioned,
a
it
struggle.
it makes the Uro deck sound horrible. Like, I don't know. I just
To
can't
some
imagine.
extent, though, like yes, but it's also like it's not true that Udo loses to everything. Udo is like a classic control
Okay.
deck where you can just beat one of the or those decks. Like you can either beat the creature once or you can beat the stag once, not both at the same time.
Okay.
But it's a little bit more complicated.
That's
But
a lot
it's
more
much harder.
reasonable.
Like it's much harder going with Uro against unknown than with these deck against unknown. And also like the way we know how to play Legacy reward. I mean, maybe you play Uro decks also at a 10 out of 10, but for me,
Yeah.
I play this deck very well. So I just if I get paired against the mirror, I'm very happy to play this deck. Whereas if you play against I don't know the Uro mirror, I don't know. Like I've never played that deck, or rather, I've never played that deck very much. So I don't
Yeah.
know what to
I
do
mean,
exactly.
I'll have to think about it, but I feel like the weeks with the Jessica control deck actually help. I don't know. we'll see. That's thanks for thanks
Yeah,
for the
for
answer.
me, yeah,
This is
for
good.
me, I will be playing this deck, and so obviously I already shared a lot with Channel Fireball. Again, nothing has changed in this deck for months, and I think it's very good. Like it won a PTQ on Magic Online, a Duke 12. We mentioned it last week, and the list was basically that. Like, it's just classic, you know. Just maybe he had like one more land and one less days. I think that was like the only change. So
All
thumbs
right.
up for this deck and for Legacy. Shall we move
Yeah, should we move?
to
Good.
Shall we move to Pioneer? Because last 2 weeks ago we had two regional championship in the world, I believe. One was in Lille, that was the European one, with 690 players, and one was in Calgary, Canada, with less players. I don't know exactly the number, but 177. Only four of their.
And let's see,
Well,
Derek
and
bite
the winner.
again. Has Derek played every single RC in Canada or something?
Not
Oh,
every
Derek
single one, but I think a
participated
decent
with.
number, right?
I mean, I swear, like I'm like I just feel like whenever there's a Canada RC, there's Derek in the top eight. Like it's.
Did
I
he?
actually said
Did he
Derek before.
qualify?
Like, I know.
Ooh, he qualified.
Yes, he did.
Congrats. He made the top four. He lost in the top four to Boston Shatterman on Is at Phoenix, which is I guess great now with Sleight of Hand.
Apparently
Yeah, I mean,
so.
I don't know if like I would say great with sleight. I mean, I think sleight of hand is an upgrade, but the deck was good before and it's still good after. Like it's, I don't think sleight of hand is like an incredible power boost. It's like a better deck, but it just made the deck slightly more consistent at what it already did. But I don't know.
Actually, I
Like
think it's
Phoenix is a great deck.
somewhat big improvement though. Like the other hand is like a better card than Opt. Like it's just a very good
Yeah.
counter for the deck. Like not only can play 12 counters or 11 or whatever, but also the counters are better. And this deck was like always a little bit short on cantrips. I think that's enough to up a tier this deck. Like obviously it's not like Phoenix is the best deck now by a lot or anything, but definitely it's back among the best decks. I don't think it ever was among the best decks, but now it is for sure. I think it's an actual change.
Oh,
But
that's
I mean, I could be
interesting.
wrong, and Anthony be right. But I think that the change is somewhat significant.
Yeah, I think maybe I just
Yeah.
thought maybe I was higher on the deck before. I think that's the actual difference. Like I thought it was already one of the best decks, so like it can't really be like much more of a top tier deck than it was already. But if you didn't feel that it was, then that does make a difference because I think right now we agree that it's one of the top tier decks now. So
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is now the deck is like when the deck was good. I'm not sure, like because basically what had happened with the deck is it has changed some of the utility spells for more cantrips, right? So it's like more consistent and a little bit less flexible in a way.
Mhm.
And that's actually gonna make the deck a little bit worse when the deck is good. Like because if
yeah,
you're playing against mono white humans, well, obviously having more cantrip is actually worse because opens an extra ability against like Thales or whatever, which were good, but like not always winning the game because you had a lot of extra spiked field hazard, whatever. The one you had a lot of more of these kind of cards, and now if they play a little bit less of these and they play more cantrips, they're gonna be better when the deck was weak. Like namely, specifically against the Rakdos decks,
Mhm.
the deck now should be considerably better because now discard spells are worse, right? For example, and that's like I think a change. Like making a deck worse when it's very good and making it better when it was bad. It sounds good, So it's like
yeah,
a
it's a
good
good
change to
trade-off.
make. Yeah. Also, I'm not sure 12 counters the correct number for this reason. Like
Yeah.
obviously it's kind of new. We'll see, in time or whatever. But
Well,
definitely,
we're gonna see something very
yeah.
drastic soon, I suppose. So we'll talk about that later. Spoiler alert. But um,
Hmm.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
so a couple of things going on in this top eight. So again, you have Misplaced Ginger making top four with a very stock.
Classic.
I say stock, like this could have been your PT Pyrexia deck list. Like there's no new.
No,
Well, I will never play Mystery Shadow on the sideboard.
we would never play
I'm
two
just
Blackleaf
saying.
Cliffs. But yes, I understand.
Also
what you mean.
that those the two cards, yes.
There's no new cards. Same for Liam Kane playing Rectal Sacrifice. Although the other top four competitor, Attila 4, has a Groove vehicle featuring for the Huntsman Redemption, and this is the new the new card from the latest set, Wild of Eldraine. It's a saga that maybe many of you haven't even seen. So let's read it. It's a 3-mana saga. The first chapter you make a 3/3. At the second chapter you can sacrifice a creature, for example, a land or elf. And if you do, you search your library for a creature or a basic land and you put it in your hand. By the way, I just noticed that you can get a basic land. I didn't know that. And then finally, on the third chapter, so the turn it dies, up to 2 target creature get +2/+2 and trample. So what does the saga does? It comes into play on turn 2 after one of your 8 Llanowar elves, and you make a 3/3. You can sack a Llanowar elf. You can get the thing that gives haste or whatever, or even the things that fling. What's it called? Voldaren Thrill Seeker. And then with the last chapter, you can pump your whatever chariot or whatever you have in play.
I think that's probably not the best use for this card. I feel like you're supposed to play something else before you play the Huntsman Redemption in order to get full value out of the last chapter. So I don't want to play Llanowar Elves into Huntsman Redemption. I want to play Llanowar Elves into a different 3-drop into Huntsman's Redemption.
Okay.
I mean, you can play
Lofted Beast, for example. You can play Lofted Beast token.
Yeah,
there's a lot of options.
This sounds, I think it's, an additional one.
That's cool. And because of that, you have a plethora of one-offs. You have 1 Ooze, 1 Miglots in the main, but you also have 1 Azoret, 1 Clotis, 1 Tranquil Frillback.
Yeah,
I don't
Dinosaur.
remember what it is.
Well, that is a weird looking card.
Yeah.
When it comes into play,
it's like a coin.
You may pay. Oh, so you pay an extra green, and if you do, you disenchant, you exile a graveyard. Oh, I guess against Phoenix. It's not.
This card could be a mana card. You know, I think this Huntsman card actually. I saw it briefly, and it has a lot of potential. Like, there's a lot of one-offs you can just play in your deck, like Rurik Thar. You know, like the sky's the limit. Like even the 2/2 Spider, whatever purple. Like, there's a lot of one-offs you can play because this card's like already decent in this deck, and I feel like this is good against spirits, right?
Yes.
A couple of Groom Charm as well to destroy all the flyers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think this
nice
like looks definitely. It seems like this player puts some thought into this, and I wonder if the one-off can be like the one-off angle can be more exploited. Even though obviously in this kind of deck, having random one-offs that can be bad is actually dangerous because you draw them and you have low resources often, so it's hard. But definitely something to explore. And I think these rule decks have been around for a while. They always keep being fine, and cards like Voldaren Thrill Seeker or the Saga, the Huntsmaster Saga. We can just wake up one day and this deck is great, so it's worth.
I was impressed by this Thrill Seeker for sure. Like this card was very good, I think.
Yeah, it is very good. Also a good one with a Chrome War. So.
Yeah, or just killing people with Lovestruck Beast. Like, it was very effective, I thought. That Gruul deck is interesting because I remember at the start, like, it felt like it didn't beat anything except Black-Red, but it has improved like slowly over time, and I think the Huntsman's Redemption might be a significant improvement. I know. I'm not sure if it was a player playing it, but I did see some buzz around that card overperforming in the Gruul deck at the RCs.
And some more new cards in the top 8. You have Drew Christensen with Boar's Heroic featuring 4 Monstrous Rage. That is the +2/+0 trample, and give a roll that's a +1/+1 trample. So it's basically a +3/+1 trample if you don't have any other rolls. And then another deck with new cards is for sure this Enigmatic Fires by David Schneier, who has 4 copies of. No, actually, I was going to assume that he had Up the Beanstalk, but
Virtue of Persistence. That's a new card.
No. Virtue of Persistence is a new card.
It's an enchantment, but unless.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe in the European one. There is a top 8 competitor, Marcin Klimuzzo, with 4 Up the Beanstalk, but I guess the Canadian one did not like the Up the Beanstalk over there.
Well, they seem to be different. Like, one is Keruga Fires, and the other one is Jorian Incarnation. Like, obviously, you're playing Jorian, you're going to play Beanstalk because you're playing the Jorian game, but this one is the Fires one, so it's going to go like Keruga attack, so it actually makes sense.
True.
Also, that's where Virtue of Persistence... Virtue is a Karuga-friendly spell. Actually. I hadn't thought about that card that way.
Yeah, of course it makes sense. Of course it makes sense. Like, I guess we should call Brad Nelson and tell him to add a new.
There's Keruga Fires and Incarnation Jorian. Yeah.
Yeah, they're actually different decks.
They're different decks, and they actually differently structured, and they have different vulnerabilities. So actually, but I don't know,
This is
Brad.
actually
Yeah,
I
wait.
don't know,
That's
now I think you're listening, but if you're listening, that would be cool to change.
no, that's actually really because I mean,
Yeah.
Enigmatic Fires has like presented quite a high win rate. Someone aggregated the regional championships, the
Yeah.
results, and
I believe
Enigmatic
Karsten
Fires
did that.
was among the top. But maybe that just doesn't hold up if it turns out that people are aggregating to different decks. Like, I just realized that
Yeah,
might be happening because
Yeah.
of this.
I remember when we played this for like before the Atenas one, like they're just different decks. Like they just don't
Yeah.
behave similarly. The matchup chart is different, fairly different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, this
And
is good to know
one
actually. I didn't realize that Melee had
one
them
more
amalgamated.
yeah,
yeah.
they do.
One more deck with new card is this Monogreen Devotion by Andrew Kitson, who was playing one of your favorite card in Standard, Blossoming
It's
Tortoise.
not one of my
Nice.
favorite cards.
Which of course you can use to discount Nick and discount and reanimate Nykthos.
Sure.
Uh,
So you can just kind of think of it as having 3 devotion-ish, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I mean, I guess that's technically
Yeah.
a new card, but
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
I don't
mean
think it's very
it's cool
meaningful.
to update. It's cool to update the listeners who might be checking around and to prepare for the American RC, which is going to happen at the middle of December. So it's still a couple of months, but
I would
That'll
not
be
count on the tortoise being good. It might be good, it might
No.
not.
Like it's not like a clear upgrade for the deck. I think like the mono green deck can just play like a bunch of weird cards in a couple of there's a couple of I think for that deck you can reasonably say they have the dreaded word flex slots. But
Yeah,
There,
I
I
love
think-
it.
yeah, I mean I think that does apply to mono green, and like there you can basically play anything, and I have seen people play what amounts to anything in those slots, and it seems fine. Like it has to be a permanent with green mana symbols, and it's probably fine.
Not really.
you know?
It can also be more.
Oh, this is
suited to
cool
levelers.
too. Eduardo's deck I think actually represents something
Let's have a
interesting.
look.
He has Sir
Oh, yeah.
Ginger in Rakdos
That's
Sacrifice,
true.
and it actually seems quite good in his deck.
Sir
Um,
Ginger, I love it.
Yeah,
Another
this
card that
that's
was
powerful.
on the table for some seconds for our standard deck. It was like
Yeah,
for
but
more
it
like
wasn't
2
the
minutes,
best. It
actually.
wasn't the best 2-drop with a gingerbread character. on
Yeah,
it, so-
it was not the best cookie. That was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this actually seems
Sorry.
kind of nice in this deck, right? Like it's pretty easy to
does.
generate treasures.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This seems
Maybe
like
3
you
is
could,
too many though. To legendary card.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so let's say to the listeners that might not know what Sir Ginger does, because I also wasn't very familiar with it. It's a 2-mana 3/1 that whenever you sack an artifact, or I guess an artifact dies, you put a +1/+1 on it and you scry. And no, of course, your artifacts are gonna be the food that you sack to get back the cat, or a blood that you might sack to just blood things, or a treasure. So there's actually a lot of artifacts in your Rakdos Sacrifice deck, and Sir Ginger just grows, just scries line to the bottom, and yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
I mean, 3/1
And if your
base also
opponent has
not that bad, And there's
And-
non-zero mana
yeah.
walkers. Like it's good attacking Karn, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
getting haste-
When it has a planeswalk.
Like the
Haste.
planeswalkers are playable in Pioneers.
Yeah, I remember having an interaction with Sir Ginger. This is another form of modern, and Renesix, because it has extra to Ren. Like Renesix cannot ping the
Kinda
Sir
nice.
Ginger.
Yeah, and in
'cause it has
standard
extra.
we were like, does it matter that this thing can't be targeted by the Wandering Emperor? I don't know. Not really, because
Yeah.
they make a samurai and block it a lot of the time. But I think what this card adds to sacrifice is pretty interesting. I think because that deck tends to have trouble when it can't pressure the opponent quickly, because it grinds very well and it answers small creatures very well. But like when it can't pressure the opponent, it tends to have more trouble, which is why like it's weaker against decks like Lotus. And this won't help that much against Phoenix, where it also has some trouble. But I can see like Sir Ginger adding something significant to the sacrifice deck that it didn't have before. So I quite like that technology by Eduardo. Also Eduardo constantly getting
Yes.
close. Come on, Eduardo. you
Yeah,
can do it.
he's
Yeah.
yeah. Come on,
Get one
Eduardo,
more
get some
win.
luck.
in
Yeah.
any of these.
He lost
Draw
PTQ
better.
final in
Draw better,
he lost the
Eduardo.
PTQ final in Vegas.
He also
Again,
got 19.
again, to be
Canada-
clear.
He also got 19 RC, right? Recently.
Yes,
Yeah. He
Yeah.
finished 9th and 10th, I believe.
and he lost in the previous PTQ
but-
final, right?
Eduardo.
Yeah.
It's
There
like
is one more
incredible. What's
Canadian
going on?
RC though.
I mean, he's getting
In
so close. I mean, he
Canada-
does have another shot. And I mean, it's a classic thing where
In
like, if you keep
Canada.
getting close, it means that like, well, you are by definition very close. So, also, I mean, Eduardo,
Yeah.
he's done this a million times. Like, he knows he can do
Yeah.
it. So,
Let's let's move over to France, where they had this huge RC, where the top 24 qualified. The winner is Adrian Inigo Tastet on Lotus Field Combo. And Lotus Field Combo, can we say, dominated this event? There
Yeah, it
were,
did very well
I believe,
overall.
three three teammates who all qualified on the same deck from Spain.
Wow.
And of course, we also have Samarov in the top 8. So yeah, just classic.
Well, there is a
Lotus
change
Field
that
doing.
matters. They've added discontinuity, which is something that was present
Right,
in the
exactly.
blue-white one that was like... I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the blue-white Lotus deck in the end, but the discontinuity thing being folded into the stock Lotus deck, I think that's nice. That's I think that takes a lot of... I mean, that cards might just be good in general. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, of course. What you do is you have 2 mana sources. On your turn 3, you play Lotus Field with ability on the stack. You play the Stone Continuity because it's your turn for just 2 mana. And you end the turn, so you'll have Lotus Field and 2 lands. You don't have to sacrifice them.
Yeah, so it does
That's
that
very good.
as well as doubling as, just an actual spell, which is... I don't know how often
Like,
you would
you
use it
mean
in this deck.
you casting your opponent turn?
Yeah, like 6
Yeah.
mana fog / counterspell, which is something that like
probably okay.
the deck's sometimes flawed, right? And this is
Yeah.
like at the very least it's tab walk.
Yeah, that's the
and
thing.
That's yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, I believe there was 2 different versions of this deck.
But it did very well overall. And I mean, that's kind of... Pioneer is like extremely cyclical, right? Like we've noticed this before, where the metagame just constantly changes and which deck is good, like, churns a lot. And I think Lotus
Even
is
more
kind
than
of...
modern, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, like Lotus is... Well, I think Modern is quite stable nowadays. So certainly more than it used to be. But, like, Pioneer really feels like something different is good all the time, and this is just Lotus's turn. And when it is Lotus's turn, it, like, comes out in force, right? Like, it just stomps everything when people are unprepared for it. You also notice a couple of decks that, like, hadn't... Well, yeah, Lotus was the old deck that came back, but there are definitely some new decks, right? Here.
What's mono green though? There's no mono green.
Mono green
Like,
is just... it's getting stopped.
Was it not played in the tournament? Like,
Well,
can you check how many
think it's
mono
both.
there was in the tournament?
It's
like,
both less popular
they
than
were
it used to be, but it's
destroyed,
also
right?
doing much worse.
No, it
I mean,
was
second most played deck.
Nice.
Like, there's
Yeah, but thing is, like,
absolutely...
Things are getting really hostile. People are playing, like, going back to playing like Boros Heroic, which is just a deck that bullies like mono green devotion horribly. So
I think that the most important stats from the European RC is that the 7 most popular decks all had a minus 50% win rate. So like Rakdos Midrange, Mono Green Devotion, Rakdos Sacrifice, Izzet Phoenix, Mono White Humans, Azorius Spirits,
well, that is
Azorius
not
Control were the
quite
7 most popular.
true because this match win rate counts draws as losses, which is not entirely accurate. So for example, like you can see here, Rakdos Midrange doesn't actually have a sub 50% win rate. It has
Well, it's
300.
fair to count it as 50%. Like, if the deck draws, I think it's totally fair to count it as a loss.
Well, I mean, this
I think
will
it's
count
actually
things like
fair.
intentional draws. Like, I mean, I just don't think.
Sure. All right.
Yeah. Like.
Yeah, that's true. Still,
I
like,
don't know.
it's still a fair point. Like, the thing is, the decks that are played by less people did better, which is probably a sign of the metagame being quite like balanced.
Actually, most of those
Obviously,
decks don't have negative win rates if you take those out. Like
Yeah.
Phoenix and Sacrifice and Midrange all don't.
Spirits does though.
Yeah. It is.
Spirits
It is.
and
It does
Soul
mean that they are
Control.
not dominant. Like, the most popular decks are not the ones that are winning the most, which is somewhat unusual.
Sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's weird. Why do they have the win percentage that doesn't match, actually?
I don't know. Maybe they're just calling everyone who gets an unintentional draw a loser. That's probably it.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
That's strange. Anyway, Mono Green Division did not do well, but
Yeah. Wow.
what about we talked
I mean, the
about
stat is
the one that
literally
did
match
well?
win percentage. If you draw, you don't win the match, so it's totally fair. like, what do you expect? Like, the stat is literally called match win. Like, you're not winning the match if you're drawing.
Yeah, I suppose that's
Like-
technically accurate, but it does seem a little easy to misinterpret.
Well, but it's accurate, yeah.
Surprised by how similar the list by Joseph Sanfielu, who grew vehicles, looks to
It's
the
very
one
similar, actually,
in
right?
Canada.
Maybe it was this one that
maybe
I
it was-
heard about talking about the Huntsman's Redemption.
Maybe they work together
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, either to work together or it was already around.
or
on
copied
Magic
together,
Online.
yeah.
it's possible that we just didn't notice the Huntsman Redemption because it's not like
Yeah,
we would have been paying.
cool.
Like obviously we were busy with World, so we weren't paying attention to Pioneer, and like rule vehicles is a specific
Yeah.
enough thing that we wouldn't have noticed, right? Like even when you're
You're
not
paying
actively
attention
paying-
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
now we're
something,
paying
you
attention.
know.
Now we see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would normally only see the biggest things if we're not actively paying attention to a format. So this might have been something that slipped
Yeah,
past
let's
us.
talk-
I'm not sure.
Let's talk about a deck that we certainly didn't know before this event, which was the 5-color combo. The deck that someone has that they brought
to whoever
came
built this
first in
deck.
this.
In the first place,
Yeah.
I think this is a very good work.
Yeah, just
So
wow.
let's explain. Let's explain what goes on. So you have a Yori companion, and then you have a Luca Coppercoat Outcast, which has the powerful ability of polymorph, basically. So you +1, you target your Llanowar Elf, your Sylvan Carity, your Elvish Mystic, and the thing that costs the most out of this is Atraxa. So
Well, you
just
have to
get into
polymorph for
play
2-drop,
Atraxa.
right?
So it's
You have
not
to
quite
polymorph
exactly.
to get
Actually.
Atraxa. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to polymorph a 2-drop, so you can't polymorph a 1-drop. And you get Atraxa, which draws a bunch of cards, and then you either win with a 6/7/7 with many abilities, or you have a combo kill actually in your deck, which is Rona, Herald of Invasion, targeted with Retraction Helix. You tap Rona, you get back Mox Ember, and you just get infinite mana that way. And then once you have infinite mana, what do? Well, you have Fae of Wishes, or Bring to Light for Granted, and then you go get your sideboard. I believe the win condition here is, where is it?
Stonebrain,
The Stonebrain.
just deck them all. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the win condition is Stonebrain in
that works.
paper. Online, I believe you have to use Etherflux Reservoir because
Oh sure, yeah,
it's kind of impossible.
yeah. You can't click. Yeah, because the way you actually kill with the Stonebrain loop is that. Wait, how do we get it back?
You can just
this
declare
Fae
it,
of
right?
Wishes
You can
gets
just
it, right?
you can just declare the loop, right? You can just say like I
Oh, we have a Karn. Okay, yep, that works. Yes, that works. Perfect.
No, I guess, yeah, you need Karn,
Yeah,
I guess.
we do need
In
Karn.
order to have the loop, you have Karn. But I guess you can just go with the Mightstone and the Weakstone first to draw.
Sure,
the
yeah,
Karn?
you'll be able to. Yeah,
I mean, if you have infinite mana,
you have infinite mana. You'll
draw
figure out
cards,
some way to win.
Infinite
Yeah, I was
mana,
trying to
infinite
figure
draw
out what the
cards, you
exact
can-
mechanics were. Yeah.
Yeah, I think first you have to go Mightstone and Weakstone to draw, because you can bounce this a lot of times.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Ah.
and then you get Card,
Perfect.
and then you loop from Karn
Yes.
to the Stonebrain.
There's one
so
thing-
I believe
Yeah.
that's how.
Yeah, but also you can win with Fae of Wishes as well. Like you don't need to be Karn. And
Right, 'cause you can cast it
so
and
Fae of
bounce
Wishes.
it.
So this deck has a lot of subtle breach combo interactions. Like Fae of Wishes can be your Karn, but also Fae of Wishes can actually be your Luca fodder, for example.
Yeah,
And
that
that's very good. Like
Yeah.
like the fact that you can have card that just enabling you both of your combos. That's I can also get
Absolutely
you can also get the rejection helix. On the
Yeah.
sideboard, right? So I mean, maybe this deck could play more of this card. I don't know, but I'm just saying like there's a lot of small like things inside. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more I cannot see now.
Yeah, just even like a defensively relevant card, like it's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything.
Everything is aggro. It's a 1/4, But yeah,
And
there's
you have,
also
Tibar.
Tibar. I mean, there's a lot of.
That helps combo because you reanimate Rona, you can use it immediately because it basically has haste. And yeah, and also you have Bring to Light with a small package of Valky and a Mordigo and Witch's Vengeance.
But also,
Of course,
but
Bring
also
to
all the
Light-
cards, right? Like the combo
The cards, yeah.
Yeah.
Bring to Light can also get the Retraction.
It's
Helix
legitimately like they have like
so-
3 different decks mashed together, and they kind of fit. Like it's really impressive, honestly, how well this deck is built. I think everything just goes together so well. And then there are cards
Yeah,
like Oath of Nissa that help you on all of your angles. Like it's just incredible.
I was looking at the mana base, and you're like a Sultai deck. Like you have no red mana for Luca. You only have Mana Confluence and Plaza, and then you use your Sylvan Caryatid,
No, you have Oath of Nissa.
Artist Druid.
Oath of
Oath
Nissa.
of Nissa.
Oh, Oath of Nissa. Right, true.
There are things you can do like Resurrection Helix plus Tivar. Does it go any? If you have Keenan, a Heratid, a Helix, and a Tivar, can you do weird things with these? You might, right? Like I don't know what's going on here, but like I don't know which kind of combos you can do, which kind of interactions you can do. I don't know if there's anything there. I mean, at least you can Helix, bounce something, and then Tivar and tap and bounce something else at the very least. But there's maybe you can just minus Tivar and then bounce Tivar and play it again and tap and bounce something else or something. You have like 7 mana. You can just I don't know how many things you can do with this.
you need to be able to make
Yeah.
7. That's 3 mana. That's kind of hard. But yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying like there's surely a lot of small things you
Yeah,
can
but you
do
can.
here.
Like, enough of your cards have natural synergy that you'll be able to add up something somehow. I think that's like you can totally just play. I really love that. Like you have all these mana dorks because they help you like combo, but maybe you just go like mana dork, bring to light, and that's like incredibly good in some
Or
matchups,
attacks
right?
even, right?
Yeah, like you
Also,
can totally just
this is
yeah. The mana dorks is so
also
well
this
used.
is
Sorry.
this is a deck that can exploit both abilities of Luca.
Yes.
Because sometimes whenever you play a Luca deck, you can only use the -2, but here you can +1, exile top 3, and cast every creature. So for example,
Yeah.
if you don't have a 2-drop, but you only have 1-drops, you can cast Luca +1 and find the 2-drop.
Yeah, or your opponent has a removal spell. You play against Rakdos, they have mana up,
Yeah.
or you just go plus. What are they gonna do?
Just a planeswalker that draws cards. Like it's just really good.
Draws a lot of cards and has 6 loyalty, and if they tap out, and I don't know, I just like how this deck is built. Maybe it's not super good, obviously, because Jordan or whatever, but this seems cool at the very least.
I
Definitely
think
worth
there's a good chance
exploring.
this deck is good. It's certainly being played quite a lot of Magic Online right now because obviously it's a very appealing deck. I mean, the one I'm not sure if it's good. I think it probably is. The one thing that I'm sure about is that this is art. I love this deck.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about something else about this event. We have in ninth place Arne Uschenbeth, who had an amazing weekend, finishing ninth in the RC, and then going back to the hotel and qualifying to the Arena Championship by going 7-1 twice in sealed. So that was kind of an amazing weekend for him. Unfortunately, his Omna 2 Light deck didn't quite get the top 8, but I believe that he went 12-3, the only one without a top 8 record with 12 wins. And I heard that his 3 losses were to
The all
3
Lotus players.
Lotus Field deck.
Yeah, Lotus.
Yeah.
I mean, this deck is very bad against Lotus, usually.
Yeah, of course. But
He added,
Very, very bad. So.
he added a couple of Up the Beanstalk to the deck that has already been doing well in the Europeans RC. I remember in the past. With Up the Beanstalk, you have, of course, Leyline Binding. You also have Bring to Light. You have, I guess, Tibalt and Elish Norn. This is something similar to what you played, Javier, in a couple of months ago at this point in Valencia.
Yeah, I mean, and there also my issue was Lotus again. Like, if you play a deck that's very weak against Lotus, chances are it's not going to be easy to fix. And we had Lavinia, which actually was good at fixing the matchup, but I mean, he didn't play it, and also even if you play hate cards, the matchup is like very bad. Obviously, if you put like cards like Lavinia or Damping Sphere or whatever, the matchup gets much better. But you want to lose almost always game 1. You need to go turn 3. Slaughter games.
Honestly, though, if you plan on doing well at the European RC, or probably just everywhere at the RCs, you should be so prepared for Lotus Field, because that deck consistently does very well. Consistently has, like, I believe maybe you can check the one in Athens and other RCs, but I remember Lotus Field to have a very good record, a very good win percentage there too.
I don't know about so prepared. Like, you definitely need to have a fine matchup, but it's still like a deck that's not super played. You're gonna need to beat some, but I don't think you need to be great against Lotus Field if that means being against rares. I think you just need to be fine.
Yeah, but like, for example, having like a couple of Dumping Sphere and a couple of Lavinias.
But that's expensive. Like, those
that's
cards just don't do anything elsewhere.
I think it's better if you play a deck that's organically fine against Lotus. Like, if you play Rakdos midrange, for example, like whatever decks, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Control or whatever. If you do those decks, even Grisfang, you're okay, right? Like, I think it's maybe better to just play a deck that's okay against Lotus.
Yeah. Let me check at Frank Carson matchup matrix. What does Lotus Field lose to?
Well, combo
humans.
Right? Yeah.
Mono white humans, and that's it, kind of like.
Yeah,
well,
like, we're not saying pick a deck that like
whatever,
actively beats it. Just one that's fine. Like,
yeah.
Rakdos midrange is probably not often actually favored. Like, it depends on your list a bit, but at least you're not like throwing,
Yeah. A 17-4 percentage against these at Phoenix. It's.
Well, Phoenix just cannot beat Lotus. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you put a lot of cyber cards in Phoenix against Lotus, you're gonna be still bad. Like,
the funny part is that
but
Phoenix is even worse off because it can't even use like Damping Sphere very well.
Yeah. I mean, you can use some other cards, but like, yeah, like it's how
Alpine Moon.
I think
Albino?
actually Phoenix being good is the reason why Lotus did well. And if Phoenix is as good as advertised because of Light of Hand, that means Lotus might become the premium combo deck instead of Mono Green. And that will change a little bit the structure of the format. Where because like
Yeah,
Mono Green is
Phoenix.
actually more robust, I want to say. Like Mono Green is actually hard to hate because if you present like spirits, sometimes they play turn to Polychronos and suddenly your spirits are just clapping there, doing nothing. But Lotus actually like a little bit more vulnerable to decks that are beating it. Not because you can be more flexible in Lotus, but the deck is less flexible at what it's doing. Like it's always comboing. It's never stomping you with creatures. I think we might see even more polarized version of the format if that's the case. I think Mono Green actually made it so more decks like Sacrifice were around, but I think if Lotus is the combo deck and it's start becoming like more and more played, it's gonna be trickier to choose decks. I feel.
Hmm. The the pairings, it's very always very important to get. I mean, in Pioneer you have a lot of bad and
Always been.
good and bad matchup.
Always been.
Yeah, I remember I remember in the past, at least when I was testing for the RC, Mono Green had a good matchup against Lotus, but looking at these stats, it's not even that good. Like Lotus Field went 12 and 13 against Mono Green, so I guess the discontinuity made the deck better. I don't
I
know.
think it might have been some developments in playing mono green as well. They figured something else out. Um, I don't know. I'm not up to date with my mono green Bible, but I believe they figured something out that made it less horrible.
Well, the Bobby sequence, right? The Karn
Yeah, but if you look at
sequence.
Omna 2 Light matchup matrix, looked very good. You have a very good matchup against Rakdos and Mono Green, and then you have a very bad matchup against Azure Spirits and Lotus Field. But the top two decks versus some of the decks in the some other
The
decks.
thing is, I don't think Mono Green is gonna be the top two decks if Phoenix is that good. Because if Phoenix is that good, Lotus will be the top two deck, top three deck or whatever. And I think Lotus might
Oh,
be
I
good enough to be a
understand.
top three deck. And if that's the case, Omnath is GG, I think.
Although you have to factor one thing is that Lotus Field will always not be very much played. Like even if metagame wise it makes sense for the RC. I'm not talking about the Pro Tour, but for the RC, it will still not be
You
very
remember
much
KCI? I don't
represented.
agree actually. These players are competitive players. Remember KCI? KCI was not played by people because it was like Lotus, ugly to play or whatever.
Well,
Like
KCI
it
was
was
more
only for common
extreme.
players.
Yeah.
But eventually, it became good enough that it became a played deck. Like I
And
Yeah.
think if a
Lotus
deck
is more
becomes good enough,
accessible.
it will be, yeah, also more accessible. But even if it was not that accessible, if the deck is good enough, it will be
What do you
played
mean?
eventually.
What do you mean? What do
Like,
you mean more accessible?
well, KCI was way harder. Like, it even involves like
Yeah.
rules things that people have like no idea what's going on. Like, I mean, I remember someone top 8'd a GP with KCI and they weren't actually able to explain how the combo worked. They just knew that it did,
Like
right?
this is lethal.
Like, they couldn't tell you the rules reason why because it was extremely obscure. Like Lotus is not as weird. Like I think Lotus has a little bit of unintuitiveness to it, but it's not that hard to get most of the juice in the Lotus. Like it's you won't like the hard games are like ridiculously difficult, and there are like some very hard decisions. But but Lotus also has like very polarized matchups. So like even if you don't play Lotus perfectly, you're still gonna crush the decks that you're supposed to crush. So I don't know. I wouldn't expect
I
Lotus.
I noticed.
I think it's generally true. Yes, that Lotus has a higher barrier than other decks, but I do also concur with Javier that if it's good enough, people are just going to get over that barrier, especially with time, right? Like that's just how non-rotating formats work. Like just more people can pick it up over time or figure it out over time.
Time is the more
So
important thing, obviously. Like time is, like if it becomes the best deck or whatever for like a year, it's gonna be played. Like it's just gonna happen. Even though I agree, like combo decks are less likely to be picked up by players. I agree with this, Mango, but only to, I think RC is
Yeah.
high level of competition, like high enough that, like players are gonna be playing the best deck or whatever. Like we could play
Or
Lotus
at
if we thought it
least
was good enough.
at least like in order to do well, you will face Lotus. Like the winner's metagame will have
Yeah,
Lotus. This is
absolutely.
what we should say, I think.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's
But
true. But we
also,
also have to get there.
metagame. Stats wise, I wanted to point out to you that Frank Karsten removed the draws from the spreadsheet. Like he just has wins and losses. So
That's
to
fair.
make
I
it look
mean,
more nice. Yeah, I guess we should also mention that Boris Heroic had it's a very how can you say, like, objective win percentage. You have awful matchup against Rakdos decks, whether they are mid range or sacrifice, and it had a fantastic matchup against Mono Green, Spirits, and Lotus Field. So you have this, like, yeah, you see what your opponent plays. You can kind of assume you're gonna win or lose the next match, which is not the best, not the best way for me to play Magic. But I guess Boris Heroic was a good choice.
I'm
Javier has a
skeptical
saying about
about the
this.
Phoenix. Yeah, I'm extremely skeptical about the Phoenix one. I mean, it's a sample size of 18 matches, which is comically low anyway. All the sample sizes are small, so whatever.
Yeah, I didn't say Phoenix. I didn't say
Yeah, I
Phoenix.
know, but look at the chart. Like Phoenix is probably also not a great matchup, but it's true. I mean, Boris Heroic is like this kind of metagame gamble deck that
Yeah,
it might be good for a weekend or two. Definitely not gonna be good for like months, but if you go to a tournament, like
no.
if you nail the metagame read with this kind of decks, it's the best spot to be
Yeah.
in a format like this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
it's
didn't mention
dangerous.
Phoenix because maybe that matchup on paper doesn't sound so good, but Mono Green Devotion, Spirits, and Lotus Field, we can all agree that Boris Heroic is favored against those three.
Absolutely, but also it would be weird for Monorail and Lotus to be the most played decks. Like it's probably
No,
one
yeah.
or the other, right? So
One or
Yeah.
the other,
yeah,
right?
They play
like
in
it's very
similar
hard to
spaces.
construct a metagame where these two decks are much played. It will have to be like
Yeah.
very artificial. Like I know in my RC of 40 people that 8 players play Monorail and 8 players play Lotus, whatever. Then by all means, just Uruk is the best deck ever. But going to a RC or something, I think it's gonna be very unlikely. There's always gonna be like this like mid-range / interactive deck, it's gonna be Rakdos or Phoenix or something like this. That's gonna be among the most played decks. Even if it's not the best deck or whatever, it's gonna happen. And I mean, could be could not be like this, but it has not happened yet in Pioneer, right? So every time the most played deck is something like with creatures or something. So, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
Mono Green, I guess, could be an exception, but Mono Green and Lotus, I think it's usually one or the other. And
I sort of expect Mono
Yeah.
Green to plummet by a lot more than I would expect Lotus to increase. So I wouldn't feel very good about Boros in
yeah,
that regard.
I mean, it depends on how Mono Green is doing in the future, but I mean,
Let's say for
why
the
is-
immediate future,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's not
But
looking.
we can
so
talk
great.
about what Anthony pointed out a few minutes ago about the Izzet Phoenix list that showed up in the European RC.
Yeah, the
The one-
Fairy one. Yeah,
yeah.
they actually
The one
Yeah, this guy's work
the
on the
one-
deck list. Yeah, the how do you say this?
I don't know. It's great.
So-
This team has been around like since the beginning of the RCs and has never given itself a name, which is fascinating, don't you think?
Yeah,
It's hilarious.
Exactly.
It's always just labeled RC Sophia, RC whatever, and they've just never
Yeah.
given themselves a name. It's
I have a
incredible.
name then.
Yeah, this-
the RC
Yeah, this-
Lille team made the deck.
Oh, great!
Well-
That's right. Oh, it's the Portuguese, the Spanish, and some Italians, I believe.
Exactly. Yeah, they worked on this Izzet Phoenix with Picklock Prankster, that is the Wilds of Eldraine fairy that has an instant adventure, which is mill 4 cards, and then you put an instant sorcery or fairy from among them into your hand. So this is a way to self-mill at instant speed, of course, without getting self-mill with card selections like an impulse that can put your Arclight Phoenix in the graveyard, as well as filling the Demilic. Couple of Demilics in the deck. I remember the Phoenix version with Demilic also did well in Athens. So I guess Europeans love the Demilic here. 4 mana 4/3, cost 1 less for each instant and sorcery you cast this turn, which obviously is great in Phoenix. And then whenever you attack, you can cast an instant sorcery from your graveyard. And then you can exile 4 instant sorcery, you can return Demilic from your graveyard. So it's very good with self-milling, because you mill both Demilic and you mill instant sorcery to enable it.
Yeah, and you
Well,
also
this is
mill
an interesting
otherworldly
deck.
gaze. But
Yeah,
which
we have the
does
gaze.
same
This is a Phoenix deck, but this
Right.
is it's not as much as the difference between Keruga Fires and Jordan Fires, but this does not work exactly the same way the other Phoenix decks do.
yeah.
By the way, Anthony, you can pick Borrower with Prankster, right?
Yep, you absolutely can because
That's
it's a
probably why I
fairy.
play too. Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, the maybe Anthony knows this better, but this is basically not like Phoenix is more like a hybrid deck where it's trying to control the game or also play some tempo games, also combo with iteration and time walk, like trespass. This deck is not trying to do this. This is more like playing the. It is like an actual tempo deck in a way. I
Yeah.
feel.
This is a lot more like, well, I think it's trying to be a lot more linear. Like, it's actually just trying to do its exact thing. I'm not sure everybody cut the galvanic iteration plus tempo trespass thing in this deck. I think some of the other people who played this deck did include that. But I think the overall theme is very clear, and think this is strong. I think I do want to note that I think I don't John Starr. I'm not sure. How do you pronounce his name actually? Are we Joao? Yeah,
Wow.
Joao won the Magic Online qualifier, the really big RCQs. He won the very large RCQ on Magic Online with this deck also. I think he was the driving force behind this deck. He did a lot of work on it. And yeah, I think this. I don't know if this is the future of Phoenix. It might be. I honestly don't know, but it's like actually a substantially different direction, right? And I think there are some good selling points to this. Like for example, I think this is probably quite a bit better against Graveyard Hate. Because for example, like Picklock, Prankster, and Otherworldly Gaze being instant speed milling makes you way better against Go Blank, for example, right? Like they go blank you and you can be like, end step, refill my graveyard and immediately fire off a cruise. You just don't give them a window to blank you. It's probably faster as well, which I assume it makes it better in the matchups where you need that. The biggest one being the mirror, probably.
I
So
mean,
this is
Lotus also, right? It has
yeah,
to be better
Lotus.
against
Like
Lotus as well.
I assume you're probably still kind of doomed, but I mean, you have more of a shot for sure, right? Like compared to pieces of the puzzle, you just have a card that mills you faster and more consistently when you have both Prankster and Gaze. So this is really interesting, I think. Um, I know that pieces of the puzzle has always been controversial before, where some Phoenix players are very sure that it's one of the best cards in the deck, and others say that it's basically divination that sometimes draws one card, or if you're Javier, doesn't draw any cards.
Well, I wish it was divination for me. It was like,
I know.
middle five for me a
Javier,
lot of time.
Javier is legitimately very unlucky with pieces of the puzzle. It's very funny, but yeah,
But
this is really
yeah,
interesting with Phoenix. I don't know what you think about this, Javier, but like
all right.
which direction do you think is good?
I think this deck looks better to me, just mostly because the way the Phoenix deck are used to be configured, like before, they actually run into the Rakdos plan, right? Like the Hearst Go Blank plan is actually very good against the All Phoenix structure. But if you're playing Rakdos against these, it's kind of hard because your hate cards are often not going to work, right? And that makes it so like you have to actually keep other cards in your deck, like maybe attack this deck more often, and then racing becomes like a losing proposition if they develop a plan. Like this is also, I assume, a little bit more stable. Like it's only trying to do one thing, right? So you're not gonna draw like that many trespass mid game or whatever. And the reason why I like this a lot more is because, as you were saying, this is like trying to do one thing. And I actually think when you're trying to do one thing and you're not trying to dilute your archetype role, the hate cards actually become much better. Like I think, as said, like in Phoenix, if you put like a stroke or a reversal or whatever, it's actually not gonna save the matchup against Lotus as much. But if you get like faster, these cards actually become better, and that's actually very important. The same with Thing in the Ice, right? If you have more spells and more things to trigger Thing in the Ice fastly, these cards are better, and I think that's why I like this deck more. Like I think cards like Stroke are gonna be better in this deck than they are in the usual Phoenix. Not only because these specifically work better with the favor, like you have mana up. Like obviously, pieces of the puzzle and counterspells are not very good together, and it's good with fairy, but also because like you're faster, so these cards are better, and you're not trying to grind as much. Yeah, like you're not trying, because you're playing like Otherworldly Gaze. You're trying to go like super fast, turn three Phoenixes or whatever. And I think this looks better to me. I don't know. I will need to play with it, obviously, but I know they were happy with this deck, and definitely, I mean, Joao just won the tournament, and
And it was a big
I'm looking
commitment,
forward to
right?
try this. Yeah.
Like Joao only ever plays, as far as I can tell, he only ever plays like this sort of deck. Just every single testing group I've seen him in, he's just working on this kind of deck. So he has like a lot of expertise in its field, and it's a big commitment, right? Like to deviate so in such a large way from the established build of the deck. So I feel like he must have been sure that it was good.
I mean, you have to be sure. Yeah, they're definitely
Yeah,
sure, very sure of this. So I mean, they're good players and they're sure of this. So definitely that's enough
it's a
for
good
me
sign.
to actually take a look. Yeah, like, try it a little bit, see how it feels, because this kind of
Like,
thing where once
yeah,
you
it looked
play
like
it,
just
is
a little
when
bit
you
of a
actually
quirky deck
know,
at first, but
what do you think about
I
that. Like I
think
can like it on the surface, but
this
maybe
is
I played, I'm
like
like,
people should
this
probably
doesn't grind well
be
enough.
investigating this
I
very
don't like it
seriously.
much, but I did watch some of the games of coverage,
All right.
and it did
Anything else you
feel
think
good.
was worth mentioning from? I guess one more new card is the Imodin's Recruiter played in the Boris Convoke deck
Oh
from
yeah, directly from
Ivanov.
Train Draft.
Yeah, the best draft card ever. But overall, I think that we kind of covered some things that went on over in the past weekend. That was
Well,
definitely
speaking of
an important
coverage,
event.
they also have the arena tournament, whatever it's called, happened this weekend as well.
Oh yes, Arena Championship. Is
The
it
Arena
4?
arena
Championship 4.
Yes.
arena
Yes,
championship
indeed.
4 exactly. I don't know if you guys watch it or something.
Well, no, I don't really pay attention to historic, but I did. But I mean, obviously, we heard a little bit from the side because our friend Jonas was playing in it. Uh, it's kind of funny that this was won by very specifically a Japanese player playing Wizards when Wizards was
Yeah,
a really
again.
unexpected deck. But yeah, like how does that happen? It's so weird. It's not like Wizards is like this oppressive force or whatever. It's just that each time, and apparently he played really well. Jonas mentioned that Shinya Saito was one of the opponents he played against where he felt like his opponent like outplayed him, and that's why he lost. So I don't know. Maybe
It's high praise.
the Japanese know something about the Wizards deck or something. I don't know, but I just don't know anything about historic at all. So, but from the outside, I mean, twice
Well, tell you
suggests that.
something.
Yeah,
Orkismo Master was legal and the One Ring was legal, and Wizards won the tournament.
it's actually
That's
really
all.
funny. It
That's
was
all you
really
need to
funny
know.
that they nerfed the One Ring and Orcish Bowmasters for the Alchemy versions right after.
After the tournament where
Yeah, after
Wizards
the
win the
tournament where
tournament
Wizards
with
won.
yeah.
I mean, they are sensible nerfs, I think, for
I
both
know, but it's
formats, but
definitely fun.
it's just funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of it, but I didn't watch too much. But yeah, I mean, congratulations. And these tournaments are actually cool to play. I don't know. We'll when they
Yeah.
play one of these, Anthony, maybe the next one.
Yeah, maybe. I guess maybe we'll play the next qualifier. I usually skip them because they're awkward times and they're often like formats that I don't really pay attention to. So, but I mean, this one is these are standard. So yeah, maybe let's give it a go.
All right. Is there anything else? Well, we have a new Patreon, and Mango's with the name, so Mango's gonna
Alex.
be.
Thank you, Alex, for subscribing
Yeah,
to
cheers.
Patreon. Of course, patreon.com
Cheers.
slash Karnies to join us in just join the group, talking about honestly just anything you want to share with us. We're there to um, answer, especially if you have any beautiful deck pictures to share. I love to look at them.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
that's it.
Yeah, ask
we
questions or whatever.
we
I
like
think
beautiful
those are
decks.
interesting.
We
Those
can
are fun.
ask if you ask questions. It's important you tag Anthony.
Oh, if it's an
that's
interesting question, you can tag me. If it's something terribly dull, like I don't know, how do I can't even think of a boring question. That's how boring it is. If it's a boring question, tag
How do
me,
you
please.
I'm expert with boring questions because I'm a streamer, of course. They
Yes.
often ask you, how do you sideboard in a specific matchup that's not relevant at all at what you're streaming? So you're streaming, I don't know, Blue Murktide, how do I sideboard with Burn versus Mill?
Yeah, something like
And
that.
yeah, and you have to answer because that's what you are there for. You're there for them
Well,
answering the question. Anyway, that's not obviously what the Discord is about. Nobody has ever asked us that question, so not directing anything to that. All right,
now I'm
guys.
scared of somebody against Meal.
I have a meeting in 15 minutes. I have to play Scam versus Tron in paper. I'm excited for that.
You playing a scam or
What about
Tron?
you? I play Tron. I'm a Tron
Okay,
player.
okay. We
he's
good,
a
we
Tron
good.
player now.
Yeah.
How
Shuffle
the
well,
mighty
Yeah.
win
fall.
viral. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Listeners, you have an idea how much Mango used to shit on Tron decks
he
across
he truly
history.
was he bitterly hated it so much. In fact, that's why we're called the
Okay.
Karnies. Like to make fun of Mengu's hatred for Karn Liberated. And yet,
Yeah,
It changed. It changed. Like before it was a luck deck. Now you like keep every
before was
hand in
now
one
you think
land.
it's not a luck deck? This is
you
incredible.
should play
No,
more.
'cause
If you think it's not a luck,
Cause
then you
now-
should play more.
This is breaking news.
Because now you keep like literally every time you have a one land. I mean, not always. Like you
Alright,
want to
alright,
have more
Mango.
hands that have like.
Then the important question is from 0 to 10, where does the current version of Tron fall into the log deck comp? Don't say 2, please. 0 to 10.
So I have to say a number, and that number is how much luck deck it is.
Yes, one day we will make a ranking
so-
based on.
Yeah,
what
I'm
they
gonna
would say.
I'm gonna say 5 because it doesn't mean
Oh
it's
my God.
it doesn't have like enough. Like it's not 6. So at 6 you become a luck deck, right? Because you have the, how do you say, like you pass the test at 6. So I'm gonna say it's not a luck deck. It's a little bit behind.
This is
How?
I don't know what's happening anymore.
I don't know what's happening either. I don't understand.
I
This is confusing.
I mean,
Okay, let's think through
you
this
still-
for a week.
you still have these games, like it actually happened to me, where my opponent just like, again, Obsidian Charmob, Bosejude, and it just top decked the missing Tron land and just, won the game on the spot. And then I would have lost my one game at that RC. And
Okay, I have a theory. I have a theory.
ICQ, so.
You think it's a skill deck because you're winning every games and you're not facing the luck deck side, the bad luck side. So let's do the following thing. I will ask you again in a week or two. Okay?
You're so doomed,
And
Javier,
then
'cause you know
you
he's
see-
just going to win like 80% of his matches or something.
Well, then it will be a 5. It will be officially be a 5. But I think we should
that
give this a little
point-
bit more on time, before
at that
we set
point-
the front on 5.
I will say the deck is good. And I will not say deck is good.
Thank
Deck
you.
is good.
That
I will
is-
I will
that
I
is
will
all
try.
I
If I
ask.
remember, I will try to say like deck was good going forward.
No, no,
If
no.
you ever see me
The
doing
deck.
this, Anthony, just know it goes for you specifically.
No,
you.
I'm just going to assume that it's because you don't speak English very well. So
Well, it will not be like for that.
But I'm going
it
to
could be
assume
for
that
that,
it is.
but it's gonna be because I'm personally aiming at UDX. Just saying.
You, Anthony Lee from Australia. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.
Have a great week. See you next time.
Open Tron in every hand,
Cheers,
please.
guys.
Bye bye.